For a few years now, Pagani Design has firmly established themselves as a king of value watches. However, with the emergence of quite a few macro brands in the last year or so that brought to the market a bunch of very interesting, very well-spec'd and very well-priced timepieces, I'm sure Pagani Design is feeling the hit. But I doubt very much that they will give up that juicy market share without a fight. And so we have here one of their latest homages to a surprise, one of their popular releases from a big watch brand. But $1 million question, of course, is it any good? Well, we have it here. Let's find out. Hello and welcome back. Okay, it might be $1 million question, however, the watch itself is priced much more modestly. So, with a price tag of around $58 for the upcoming Black Friday sale, we are off to a good start. And before we move any further, for full transparency, Pagani Design did ask very nicely if I will be interested in reviewing this watch prior to the upcoming Black Friday sale, which starts on November 22nd. Evidently, I agreed and I get to keep it too. In return, they asked me to share an additional discount code with you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, it is not a big discount, but still nice. And of course, they also asked to produce a comprehensive review of this watch and to point you to their product listings. And so all the necessary product links and of course the above mentioned discount will be in the description of this video. So from the design perspective, well, it is a super budget Pagani Design, so no much creativity, well, at least on the outside. However, this time they did a few things slightly differently, especially in the area that Pagani Design watches are usually very much criticized in, and I'm sure you can guess what I'm talking about, and we will cover it a bit later in this review. As for the inside, Pagani Design used here Japanese Seiko Mecha Quartz VH31 movement, which is becoming very popular these days because of its smooth sweeping second hand, which of course gives us aesthetics of mechanical watch with all the benefits of the quartz, like accuracy and dependability. By the way, Pagani Design were one of the first brands on AliExpress a few years ago that started using this movement, and I think it is great that they are turning to it again. For a super budget daily beaters like this one, it is hard to come up with a better alternative. And it's worth pointing out that Pagani Design took a full advantage of the low profile of this movement and made the case of this watch nice and slim. So looking at dimensions, case diameter is 38mm, lug width is 19mm, maintaining that perfect 1:2 ratio between the case width and the lugs. Case height, however, is not the same, but actually slimmer, as I mentioned earlier, measuring only 11.1mm, which not only makes the case look more elegant, but also makes this watch very comfortable. And lug-to-lug distance is only 47.1mm, which combined with the inverted end links makes it a very versatile timepiece. The stainless steel bracelet is long enough to cover wrists up to 8¼ inch or 21 cm in circumference, and this watch as supplied weighs 119 grams. So looking at the case, and we have a full stainless steel construction. The top of the case features quite prominent mirror-polished fixed bezel. The top of the lugs have satin longitudinal brushing, creating a nice contrast with the high-polished elements. The lugs are gently slanted downwards, and the sides of the case are also brushed. And breaking the pattern, we have here elegant high-polished chamfers running along the top of the flanks. One thing that slightly surprised me on this super budget case was the build quality and the quality of the finishing. The geometry of the facets is pretty much flawless, the brushing is very consistent, and the transitions between the surfaces are crisp and yet well machined, so there are no sharp edges to speak of. In short, if I am to match this case against bigger brands, I would be looking at about $200 to $300 price levels. And flipping the case over, a good attention to detail continues here too. We have a screw-on back case cover which is decorated with engraved Pagani Design branding and key specifications around the perimeter. Also, as I mentioned in my other reviews, I like that we can remove the back of the case using generic tools, which is definitely a plus when time comes to change the battery. Now we have here well-proportioned and signed crown, which is great. However, one thing that I'm not a big fan of is that the crown is actually push-pull as opposed to screw-down. We have 100 meters of declared water resistance here, and I've seen a few watches lately declaring more than 50 meters of water resistance while resorting to push-pull crowns. So maybe the gaskets here are sufficient enough, and this is not a diver-style watch after all. What do you think? Is push-pull crown on such a daily beater is a perfectly suitable option? Well, do let us know in the comments. So we have here a slightly domed sapphire crystal. It looks like a double dome crystal because there are hardly any distortions as we look at the dial at a very acute angles. I couldn't find any information about any anti-reflective coating in the product listing, so I will assume that there is none. However, the dial is very legible and crystal deals with reflections well enough. The sapphire crystal is installed, like on most other watches, about a millimeter proud of the fixed stainless steel bezel, which hopefully should reduce the risk of scratching this mirror-polished surface. So this watch comes in 4 colorways: sky blue, light brown, matte black, and this blue one that I have here. I actually really like the color of the dial. It is kinda pastel blue, and also the dial background has a subtle grainy texture. Combined with the aged lume color on our indices, we get a good contrast, resulting in a good legibility. We have an applied Pagani Design logo under the 12 o'clock marker, and everything else is printed on this dial. So, somewhat unsurprisingly, Pagani Design gets very little if any points for originality here. However, the execution is very good. And by the way, that includes the lume. I know, this is a bit of a change compared to the most Pagani Design releases, and by the way, that is one of those upgrades that I mentioned earlier in this video, and we'll take a look at it shortly. We also have here quite well executed arrow-style hands. The minute hand and the hour hand are multifaceted and have a mirror polish finish, and as such play in the light and add a visual interest to the dial. And the hands are also filled with lume. Talking of which, here is my usual 15-minute lume test. So first we have here double color lume, which is already interesting. Then the application is fairly consistent and the lume seems to ever so slightly more stickier compared to most Pagani Design watches I've reviewed so far. But before you get your hopes up for a diver level lume, I can assure you this lume is definitely not on that level yet. So turning to the bracelet, and we have here inverted solid end-links, which is good. The end-links integration with the case lugs is okay. It is not fantastic, but I can accept it at this price point. The links on the bracelet are also solid stainless steel, which is also good. The bracelet has a noticeable taper down to 16 mm by the clasp, and the links are connected by pins, which is perfectly okay for this watch price point. The outer parts of the links are mirror polished, while the center part is brushed, following to some degree with the finishing pattern of the case. Now, a few things to point out here. The tolerances on the bracelet are not super tight, and generally the bracelet comes across of a slightly lower build quality compared to the case, similar to what I saw on the timepieces from other brands in this super budget price category. However, I must say that in the case of this watch, the difference in quality is not as pronounced, but it is still noticeable nevertheless. Now, the side effect, or rather a silver lining of a slightly lower tolerances on the bracelet, is actually more fluid and flexible feel, and to some degree a more comfortable wrist fit, which is of course good news. As for the clasp, Pagani Design went with the safest option here, and I think it is the best suited here given the style and the price point of this watch. So we have a robust double locking, double push mechanism with well-spaced 3 macro adjustments. The clasp is signed, which is good. The outer shell of the clasp is pressed, while the inner mechanism is milled, which is also a plus. So, coming to the verdict, well, what we have here is a very well executed case and the dial with a great choice of movement. The bracelet, while not exuding as much quality feel as the case, is still very well put together and is very comfortable. Okay, personally, I would like to see a screw-down crown on 100 meters plus water-resistant watches, but for this particular style, I don't see this exactly as a deal breaker. And, of course, the lume. Okay, similar to the screw-down crown, it is not a diver-level lume, so it will not compete with the diver watches. However, it is definitely a step up compared to other Pagani Design models. And finally, Pagani Design's trump card, the price. So maybe there is hope after all for Pagani Design to retain that value budget king crown. What do you think? Do let us know in the comments. And for more great value watches, check out my video. I'll put the link on the screen over here. Don't forget to like and of course subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thank you for watching, take care, and I will see you in the next video.